Welcome to Southeastern New Mexico's Influence Magazine show. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher, 40-plus year career journalist and publisher of Influence Magazine. If this is your first time signing on and you need more information about us, you can find us online at influencenm.com. That's influencenm.com. Find us on social media at Facebook. Just go to your Facebook search bar and toss in New Mexico's Influence Magazine. And we're also on Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. For this particular episode of the show, go to your YouTube app and toss in New Mexico's Influence Magazine in the search bar there. When you get to the show, make sure you subscribe, hit the like, give us a thumbs up, and of course, hit that bell so that you don't miss any future episodes of the show. Southeastern New Mexico's Influence Magazine is the premier talk show that profiles individuals doing significant work in the region. And of course, if you've followed us for any time, you know we bring on folks. We tell you the story behind their story of how they made it, and you can too. So coming up next, I'll bring on our featured guests. Don't go anywhere.
When looking for an insurance agent, you need an agent that is experienced and local. You need Ashley Dalton Insurance Agency with 2 convenient locations, 3207 North White Sands Boulevard in Alamogordo, 1200 Suttereth Drive in Ruidoso, and over 11 years experience, the Ashley Dalton Agency can take care of any of your insurance needs: home, rental, auto, recreational vehicle, business, and life insurance all in one place. Ashley Dalton Insurance Agency, call today.
Welcome back to the show. Okay, let me introduce the background of our featured guest today. His name is Joe Baffoe. Joe's the president of Electronic Caregiver Incorporated out of Las Cruces. He's led the company through critical growth phases and supported several product launches. He's involved in every aspect of the company, collaborated with marketing, engineering, and clinical sales departments. Joe's a 33-year industry veteran from the finance business who's worked at some of the most prestigious firms on Wall Street. Prior to joining Electronic Caregiver full-time in 2017, Joe spent the previous 22 years in investment banking, funding both public and private companies, and has participated in over $4 billion of financing. A lot of financing. Joe's clients have had the chance to invest alongside very successful individuals and family offices, several of whom are on or in Forbes 400. The portfolio companies he's funded are at the forefront of cancer research, computer systems, new drug discovery, identity authentication, and now automated home healthcare, AI, deep learning, and VR systems. We'll talk about all of that with Joe here. Joe's been instrumental in helping the company raise capital to execute its business plan and expand exponentially. He continues to lead capital raising efforts while heavily involved in sourcing strategic partnerships. Joe's primary goal is to maximize ROI and drive ECG to a successful IPO or acquisition. Strong background. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you for having me, Cedric. I appreciate it.
Okay, let's jump right into it. And just start by telling our audience about your background, ethnicity, where you're from, that kind of stuff.
Sure. I come from a lifelong Chicagoan, and my background, my ethnicity is both of my grandparents came to my mom and dad. My dad's mom and dad came from Italy, and my mom's mom and dad came from Ireland. So it was a pretty simple mix, Irish and Italian. And we got, I love our history. I'm one of 10 children. Wow. Very big family on the south side. Okay. Big family. And not a day goes by, I don't think about my mom and dad.
Okay. How about your educational background, Joe? Talk to us about that.
I went, I graduated from DePaul University, we were talking about that. You said your daughter's in Lincoln Park.
Yep.
And I remember when I went to class there, and I graduated my degree in finance in 1985. And I love my DePaul background, Blue Demon for life. And, before I even luckily for me, before I graduated, I was one of those individuals, because I was one of 10 children, I had to work almost full time to pay for my college education. So even though I was going to college full time, I was probably working 40 hours a week, usually after school. And I got exposed to the financial business. I got exposed, Chicago's the second largest financial community next to Wall Street. LaSalle Street was where all the banks and the brokerage firms in Chicago, and you had the Chicago Board of Trade right there. So it was all right there. And then luckily for me, I had 6 brothers, 5 became stockbrokers. And because I was number 4 on the list, it was something I always thought I would do. And that's why I got my degree in finance. And then the real education came from learning from some of the best people, mentors. And like I say, when I graduated, I already had my licenses. I was already a stockbroker and a commodities broker by the time I exited DePaul University.
The school of hard knocks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best school in the world, right?
Yeah.
To learn. And then it's I think it's so cool that you find people that are successful and they're willing to mentor young people. And I've tried to do that throughout my career, try to help young people and one, help them avoid the mistakes that I made, but also to build them up and encourage them and let them know that every day, if they get a little bit better, they're going to be, hopefully they'll be able to do their chosen profession.
Describe your current situation, a day in the life of Joe Baffoe.
Well, I think that in order to, it's crazy, Cedric. I mean, it changes here so often. You have to understand our company is going through this incredible change where even shareholders or people that have been out here 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, they're like, wow, I had no idea that it was growing like this. Like, just to give you one small example, we built a clinical call center on our 3rd floor where we have nurses and we have EMTs and we have CNAs, and we're actually helping our customers provide a care platform for their customers. And 140 days ago, we didn't have it. Now we have 148 people down there. So it's hard to believe that something can be built and built properly in 5 months. But I think when you talk about a life of Joe Baffoe, all my life I always heard, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And when you look at what we're doing here, it started with me falling in love with the company's goals and what their plan was. And I was an outsider. I was a banker trying to do due diligence to understand exactly what this company was. And at the end of my due diligence, I said, I have to work there. And then it's also a great thing to have a supportive partner. My wife is my absolute partner. She's my consigliere. She's my counselor. And she encouraged me very much to come here. So when you say, what's the day in the life? Usually I get to my office around 7:30 in the morning. We usually have an early debrief. I spend very little time outside of the office. I seldom, if ever, go to lunch. I usually eat at my desk because my wife makes me a beautiful meal. And usually it's anywhere from a 10 to 12 hour day. And then when you get where my position is, I'm never off. So I can get a call from Europe tonight or Asia at midnight. I almost universally work on the weekends. It's just something that you have to do in order to be a leader and to help get this company to the next stage. So every day is really different. It's really dependent on who's coming through, what we're talking to. My number one job at the company is to raise the capital that we need to execute on our business plan. But then also I get the excitement to work with our strategic partners and new strategic partners, because there's no shortage of companies out there that don't understand where we're going and where the market's going. You have to have, like we're talking about your mom and dad, you have to have some technology solution for when you can't be there to make sure that it extends from your mom and dad to you directly. And that's what we do.
As president at Electronic Caregiver, what's the competitive advantage and what's the primary need that it addresses?
It's a great question. I mean, the competitive advantage is the person who dreamt this, the founder of the company, Anthony Dorman, had a relationship, almost like a father-son relationship, with a gentleman who's a legend in the security industry. When you think about security, when you and I grew up, ADT, Brinks, Protection One, you break your glass, someone opens a window, there's an alarm. But it's really, that kind of security is not that different than life safety, right? You have to still have that type of spanning tree to protect your mom, to protect your dad. And Anthony got into the security business of wiring homes and everything else. And the person that is like a father to him is Russ McDonnell out of Syracuse, New York, who runs an incredible monitoring company called Rapid Response. And he called Tony out about 11 years and he said, Tony, you have to get out of the business. And Tony was like, you're kidding, right? You're making this up? He goes, no, you have to get into life safety because it's coming and we have to do something. And I'm seeing business plans for iPhones and all these other things that we use. And less than 2% of the people in the business did life safety, helping people extend from the doctor to the home in real time, the care providers to the people in real time. And Tony made that decision to do that. So the first thing that our competitive advantage is, we didn't start yesterday. We started 11 years ago. And then the other thing is, most of the technologies that we need today didn't exist. They didn't exist. And then if you know anything about Tony, his vision is always big. It's grand. And he had a vision about a virtual caregiver because he talked to so many, we talked to thousands of doctors, thousands of seniors, and they said, we don't want to be putting stuff on our feet. We don't want wearing something on our glasses. We don't want something constant, invasive, always watching us. We want to just go about our lives and we want to be able to protect ourselves from starting to escalate. And Tony came up with an idea of a virtual caregiver. No one gave him a chance on that. I mean, the odds of that happening, they were far and in between because the technology. And now after all these years and over 1 million hours of engineering, we have Addison and she's ready for the market now. So I just got asked that question 2 days ago. So vision, the fact that we were there way before anyone else. But then of course, I think our competitive advantage is our people. We have so many people on this team, that have people come through here and they're like, I can't believe it. The whole firm moves in lockstep. Everyone has the same beliefs because I think they're very, one, proud of what they do, and two, they want to help people and they want to get Addison out to be able to help millions of people worldwide.
That's important. How many employees at the company?
I think we have about 306.
300, okay.
And put that in perspective, when I joined, we had 29.
And you're still recruiting and hiring?
We're still recruiting, we're hiring. We actually got some help from the state, the county, and the city. We got some grants, and all those are based off of us on our future hiring. And I think our plan calls by the end of 2023 to add an additional 600 people.
Outstanding. That's nice. Joe, Electronic Caregiver focuses on innovation, right? So talk to us about the new product has in the works and the problems that it will help solve. I think you called it Addison.
Yeah, well, it's our ADDI, ADDI platform. And, Cedric, a lot of people, when you see a product like an Addison, you say, oh, well, your secret sauce is the avatar. Wow, she talks. Wow, she has facial recognition. Yeah, the avatar is part of it. But if we didn't build the platform to support her, if we weren't able to build a platform that can support millions of people, Addison's going nowhere. So it was our work with Amazon. Very early in our work, they identified us as a company that was doing what we said we would do. And they gave us access to some of their most precious assets. We were one of the first companies ever that was given Lex, which is their procedural speech engine for Alexa. So we were working on that 6 years ago. So when you look at all the different tools that Amazon Web Services give out to their 1.8 million customers worldwide, we use probably 24 to 28 of their different services, which puts us at the outer range of all, any company that utilizes their stuff. And we try to utilize it in the best possible way. So that because if, Addison doesn't work also if she's too expensive. If the data usage and all the other things, privacy, everything else. So last year we went through what they call foundational technical review, FDR, and a well-architected review. And Amazon recommends that they do that, but of all their customers, only about 1.5% have completed that review. Normally it takes about 6 months. We did it in 6 weeks, and we received that certification. So what does that tell other partners? It says, wow, I can tell you what Intel says when they see that, a foundational technical review. They know that we weren't giving up privacy, that we weren't easily able to be hacked. They know that they couldn't throw a ton of stuff and crash the system. It's something we take very much pride in. And our CTO, Dr. David Keeley, who runs that portion of the business, has just done a yeoman's job. And now Addison's in about 150 homes right now. She'll be in about 400 homes by the end of, let's say, July, August. And we will release her into the market. We will have paying customers on Addison this year in the fourth quarter of this year. And then sorry, go ahead.
I mentioned to you, I've got two 80-year-old parents. Is there special technology required at their home to be able to make use of Addison?
So the beautiful thing about this, we built it around cellular connectivity. And there are places in America where cell connectivity is not good, but it's way better than internet connectivity. A lot of people lose internet. So she has hardline capability, she has internet capability, and she has cellular capability. Now, for your two parents, do they, I would assume, but I'm going to ask first, they have to have some kind of chronic illness that they have? Do they have high blood pressure? Do they have anything, the diabetes? Do they have anything that they have to manage on a daily basis?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're both on a handful of meds daily.
Right. The average American, average 65-year-olds on 2 prescriptions. The average 85-year-olds on 6. The average 85-year-old has double comorbidities. Like when you look at what happened with COVID, almost 75% of the people that had the worst outcomes they had 4 comorbidities. So you might have a father who has high blood pressure. You might have a mother who might have adult diabetes. Different things that they have to manage on a daily basis. So what we're doing right now, where we're getting all this growth, this extreme growth, is in our Pro Health, which is a smart hub that sits in your mom and dad's home. They go to the grocery store and they come home and there's a light on top of the hub. And your mother presses it and it says, time for your father to take his thyroid disease, time for your mother to take her glucometer, time for someone to do a pulse ox, a heart step on a weight. That's what we have in the market right now. And it's incredibly efficient at helping people. And what you have to understand is the reason why Tony got so excited and why he decided on Addison, 50% of all treatment failure in the United States, 50% is due to non-compliance. It's not that your mom and dad don't want to follow their doctor's orders. It's that they forget. And now, thank God your mom and dad have each other. Most of the time, it's someone alone and isolation, and they don't have a son that can go see them all the time. Isolation is a really bad thing for our seniors. It's the equivalent of smoking 14 cigarettes a day. So now when Aunt Millie wakes up and she's supposed to take something with breakfast, and she does, and then an hour and a half later, she's going to church or she's going to bingo. She says, oh, did I take my medication? And then she doubles up. And what that can do is it can slur her speech. It can affect how she walks and different things that could turn out to be bad for Aunt Millie because she accidentally doubled up on her medication. So we're already doing that for lives, and it's incredible, Cedric. This technology, they took 300 type 2 diabetics, and after 60 days of having remote patient monitoring, chronic care management, it lowered their H1C by almost 40%.
Very nice.
Not new drugs,
Yeah.
Not it. So the problem is when your mom and dad leave the doctor's office, that doctor has no purview into whether or not they're doing what he asked. And that's what we're doing right now. So if you think about our pro health, Addison just sits on top of her. She's the face.
Joe, is this something affordable? Most seniors are on fixed incomes.
Yeah, and then we get that asked all the time. And the real answer is, if something happens that is negative for your mom and dad, no matter what the cost is, because I could give you an example, like my grandfather, my wife's grandfather had a horrible situation where he took way too much medicine and it was not caught. And he had a heart attack, fell in his bathroom, broke his hip, had to have a stent done. He was in the hospital for 6 weeks. It was $380,000. But I know that seniors, first thing is price. So right now, because of COVID, CMS, which runs Medicare and Medicaid, made the decision to codify 2 codes, remote patient monitoring, chronic care management, and they did it for a decade to 2031. And now it has to be done by the doctor. You can't do it, or your mom's dad or doctor has to say, you know what? I want them on remote patient monitoring. Once they're on Medicare, they qualify already. They already qualify if they're Medicare of age. So our let's say our pro health is $100. 80% is covered by Medicare. $20 would be your mom and dad. And a lot of people have what do they call it? Gap coverage. They have Medicare Plus. And for about 95% of our customers, there's zero cost. Either their private insurance or the Medicare Plus covers it. So now here you are worried about your mom and dad because you're not there. Imagine if you had a system in their house to take their medications, to make sure they're complying, to take any type of chronic reading, immediately. And we have a family app so you can know where your mom and dad, if they're following their medications. So no. And then when Addison comes out, there's many things Addison can do that the Pro Health can't do, right? Addison knows it's your mom, not your dad. Addison knows that she's been reminded and she took her medication. Addison is a totally different, she can conduct an interview with your mother. Imagine Addison seeing your mom not walking the way she was and says, can I ask you a question? Yes. Do you notice that you're not walking the way you were 2 weeks ago? No, I don't notice. Or, yeah, I was in the garden and I was planting some tomatoes and I kneeled on a rock. That's a great answer. She knows why she's not walking the right way because she actually had a little bit of an injury. Addison might give her some tips on how to take care of that rice or anything else. She doesn't give medical information, advice. She doesn't tell your mom and dad what to do. She makes sure that they're complying with their doctor's advice. But imagine a veteran. Imagine a veteran living alone. I once read, I don't know if it's changed over the last 3 years, but 22 veterans a day take their life.
Yeah.
Because Addison has machine learning, you could build a model and she would be able to see if they're no longer hydrating, if they're no longer showering, if they're no longer grooming because they don't care. And you have that model. So what Addison truly does is take healthcare from episodic, symptomatic. When do you and I call the doctor when we have a 104-degree temperature or we hurt ourselves? You take it from episodic and symptomatic to predictive and preventative. So I don't believe that everyone should live to 100, but your mom and dad should not suffer because of a mistake. And if there was a mistake, it needs to be corrected as quickly as possible.
No doubt. We're talking to Joe Baffoe, President of Electronic Caregiver Company. We're going to take a quick break and we'll hear more from Joe. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Influence Magazine show. We're here today with Joe Baffoe, President of Electronic Caregivers Incorporated. Joe, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Cedric.
So let's talk a little bit about your background. What was your original inspiration for going into finance?
I think it was pretty simple. I went to school with my older brother. And if you understand, when you go to a school inside a major metropolitan hub, it's like going to work, right? You have to get off the train, you have to get off of public transport, you have to park, and then you have to walk through the the millions of people that are heading to work every day. And that's pretty much the way, that's the way I treated college. If I wanted to go and have fun, I would have gone away or done something. I never did any of that because I was at that lower end of the 10. My mom and dad had no way of paying for my college education. So I pretty much treated college like business. I knew I had to get that degree. And then my older brother was a finance degree. And then I think it affected me and my younger brother right behind me. All three of us went to Paul. All three of us got our finance degree. So I would have to say my older brother was a huge inspiration.
Inspiration. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outstanding. So, Joe, regarding leadership, what would you see as being like 3 key attributes for an effective leader, to be an effective leader?
Well, I think when you talk about that, right, you have to start from the very beginning in the sense that how can you lead? You have to start from the beginning. If you have no one to lead, if there are no people working for you. So I think it starts in the very beginning by hiring and by sourcing good people and making sure that the people that you hire are people that have the same goals, the same convictions, the same inner workings, right? I remember once leading some of the greatest NFL coaches that ever lived. And they said, do you want the guy that runs the 4.240? Do you want the guy that throws the ball 75 years on a dime? Or do you want head and heart? And I've always gone for head and heart. And I've been so lucky. I've been able to hire someone smarter than yourself. I've done that so many times, and you just step back and you want to wish them the best, because if they do well, you do well. So number one, it begins there. Then I think you got to ask yourself, well, what do you do now they're here? Now you have to remove obstacles for their success. You have to listen. You have to understand what they're up against. You have to be able to remove those obstacles. I mean, you can't, one, and that then goes into the third thing. So your job is to remove those obstacles. And then really, you should never ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do. And I think it really does help. I don't think you have to be a Hall of Fame NFL player to be able to coach, but I think it does help if you can share your life experiences and help them and mentor them up and say, hey, I can do the exact same thing. I promise you, I'm not asking you to do something I wouldn't do. And here's how I did it, and here's how I was very effective. My dad was my greatest mentor. My dad was a World War II veteran. He was an engineer by trade, always hands-on, just an incredible teacher. And he always would say to me, Joe, if someone could show me a better process, if someone could say, all right, Mike, you were taught this way, but now they do it this way and it's way better, and you can prove it to him, he said he would never do it the old way again. So I really think being a great leader means being a great teacher. I think that you have to be willing and never ask them to do what you would not be willing to do. And then understand that human nature is resistant to change. And if they see something that they're not comfortable with, even if you tell them 1,000 times, here's how you have to understand. In some cases, the best results we ever got were from people that moved from one area of the company where we thought they would be great, where we thought they would excel. And what happened was, they actually did everything that you asked them to do. That's another thing. I would hate to be a leader and ask somebody to do, and they did everything I asked them to do. And then if they're not successful, to me, I would take onus. I would blame that on myself, because obviously they're asking you for help. And they're trying to do what's best for the company. But if they're doing everything you can, how do you blame them? So you know what I mean. So my whole thing is, I think those 3 things: by hiring, being smart about who you hire, make sure that you're hiring like-minded people. 2, make sure you remove the obstacles, and then 3, letting them know that you certainly would never ask them to do something you won't do. Those are the things I try to follow.
Very good. We talked earlier offline about you've relocated from Chicago to New Mexico. Huge cultural shift, I'm sure, and may have even shocked the family a little bit. What are some of the extracurricular activities you involve yourself in, Joe, outside of work?
Oh, my wife, we love to walk. We love to, my wife, Lori, is never really sitting still. So we go to Oregon, we go to different places to walk and look at the beautiful New Mexican landscape. We both bought e-bikes. And when people hear of e-bikes, they think all you do is sit back and ride. The reality is about 75% of it, you're trying to work out and ride as you can. We take them off-roading, stuff like that. And then probably the number one curricular activity is being a father and stepfather to 9 and our 10th grandchild on the way.
Wow.
We're a big believer in making sure families around at all times and that we can enjoy our time with the people that we care so much about.
That's great to hear. Joe, what would you consider to be your greatest accomplishment?
I think that's twofold, right? I think a personal accomplishment would be being a father, loving, our kids and our grandkids. That's an incredible thing. I mean, to me, I think, like I was telling you, I mean, to me, I have a brother who's unfortunately fighting a cancer battle. And I think the only greater thing, I said to him, he coached over 600 people. And I said, Mike, that will always be your legacy, that you were able to help these young people and you were able to coach them. I think for myself, one, personally, it'd be being a father, but two, I spent 33 years on Wall Street. And I used to always believe defined as a broker and as a stockbroker and a investment banker. And I think that all that goes away when you look at ECG. It is such an incredibly powerful thing for me to be a part of this company, to help this company. So I would say my greatest accomplishment is helping this company grow and succeed, without a doubt.
Okay. Joe, what's the one thing people who know you don't know about you but should?
I think what happens is I'm a bigger stature guy, and I had to gain a lot of weight to play defensive line and work out and all this stuff. And my wife says, "Joe, you got to give people their space." I think what people would not know is that I'm a big teddy bear. That I like.
Right.
I'm a very sensitive guy. That I'm the kind of guy that cries during "It's a Wonderful Life," and I'm more sensitive, put it that way. My wife's the tough one. I'm the sensitive guy.
That's how it always breaks down. It's good to hear. Okay. We have the privilege of interviewing and phenomenal leaders, Joe, from all sectors, backgrounds, ethnicities, cultures, regions, you name it. The one thing we found that leaders have in common is they're all readers. Leaders are readers, and their go-to book tends to be somewhere close, likely on their nightstand. Joe, what book's on your nightstand?
Oh, right now I'm reading 2 books. One is The Devil in the White City, which is a story about the World Trade, the World's Fair in Chicago in 1890s, and all that beautiful, everything you see in Chicago around the lakefront, Navy Pier, the beautiful museums and everything, they were all built for the World's Fair. And during that time I was on vacation and a gentleman was with me, my good friend, and he said, "Gosh, you got to read it." And I thought I read it. And now I'm rereading that. It's called The Devil in the White City. And it's a story about a serial killer who they believe was a doctor. It's pseudo-real, but it's more done in a third person. And then the other thing I'm reading right now is something called The Driving Force. And the reason I'm reading that is it shows you how small the world is. My son-in-law is Derek Schutz, and his grandfather was the CEO of Porsche. And he actually took Porsche from when they were really having problems and lifted them up. And Porsche would not be the company it is today without Peter Schutz. And his dad gave me that book, and turned out I was about to go to Germany 2 weeks ago and meet with the Porsche family. But that will be on but that shows you how small the world is. But lifelong book would actually have to be How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Good book. Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. Okay, we're talking to Joe Baffoe from Electronic Caregivers Incorporated. We're going to take a quick break and come back and hear from Joe. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Influence Magazine. We're here with Joe Baffoe today, Electronic Caregivers President. Joe, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about diversity. Of course, this is a diversity magazine show. So I understand you've been blessed with a very large family. Can you describe it to us?
Sure. I'll talk about my children, not just my brothers and siblings and sisters, but my daughter, Caitlin, works for an NGO. She was the type of kid that wanted to save the world. And when she was in college, she went to Africa twice and helped them build water filtration and different things like that. Now she works in housing, making sure that the underprivileged get access to good housing. She's in Indianapolis and very proud of what she does. She got her master's degree and she's helping a lot of people do that. And when you talk about diversity, then my one daughter became a nurse. I have a son that became a union tradesman. And then my one daughter is actually an influencer, went into design. That was what she wanted to do, fashion world design. And now she's just absolutely killing it as an influencer. I have a son who won a national competition last week to be the best young chef in America.
Wow.
He won the Shen, and he'll be going and representing the United States in Australia next year. And then my other daughter is like her dad. She's a business person. She's a saleswoman. She works one of the largest gypsum companies in the world, stuff like that. And when you talk about diversity, I could also talk about, when we talked about Addison, originally there was only one Addison. And now we've been able to skin her. Now that one Addison speaks fluent English and German because we have some European partners. So she's fluent in Deutsch, and she also a Caucasian here. But now we've added 6 other Addisons. We have an African-American Addison. We have a Latin American Addison. We have a Korean Addison. We have soon to be an India Addison. And I'm sure at one point there will probably be 30. And the other thing is because of Lex's ability to speak in different languages, I believe Lex speaks in about almost 40 languages today. So that'll be something that we're very proud of. And then the other thing is we really believe in girl power here. I would say 46% easily of all of our employees are women, and so proud of them. It's almost like I say Addison's my 8th daughter, but when you look at these, Tony and I call, right or wrong, we call most of our employees our kids because they're at our kids' ages and they're doing so well. I'm very proud of them.
Outstanding. Our company here, we celebrate diversity too, and believe in woman power, if you will. Easily 80% of the crew here are women, and we appreciate them and really try and let them know that on a regular basis. So, Joe, how important is diversity to you, and what value do you feel it brings to an organization?
Oh, huge amount. I think here's what it does. I think it was like before when we were talking off camera about what you hope to do. You hope to be able to give everyone, especially in a diverse way, an opportunity to succeed. You want to give everyone that opportunity to bloom. And, I guarantee you, if you saw our workforce, and it's such a heartening thing to see people so invigorated, powered. A lot of what we do is we go on the road. We have to go to Google Amazon and Intel and Dell and all these different conferences around the world. And so a lot of these people that work for us, they get that opportunity. It's almost like an extension of what they did through their college training or whatever training they had. And they're over learning from the best people in the world. And then they come back and you realize, I guarantee you, they didn't see themselves in that role 4 or 5 years ago. And then isn't that heartening to see somebody and you say, gosh, I didn't know that she would be Amazon certified. I didn't know that she would be able to attain such a high level in digital graphics and things of that nature. So I think it's always a good thing. And it's really, it's an amazing thing when you give people an opportunity and you give them the platform and then you support them. And so I don't think there's anything better. And then when you look at it, it's not so much you have to look at them in terms of their diverse background, but you see it. You see it because, you know, they're all from all different ethnicities, all different walks of life, and they're doing such a good job. So I think it's imperative that you give people the opportunity to be to lift them up. And it's funny when you do, and you realize how you changed their lives, and then you realize, wow, maybe there's a lot of people that didn't get that opportunity.
Sounds like you have an athletic background as well, right? So you've spent time in the locker room where you can kind of see the beauty of diversity working and everybody focused on one cause or one outcome.
Yeah, it's like that. And I never had the privilege to serve this country, but I know that my dad would tell stories. It wasn't about who you were in terms of ethnicity. They were all one unit. They're all working together. And you're absolutely right. I've coached probably maybe 20 teams in my lifetime. I played about 12 years of organized football. And you just realize, isn't it great to be able to mentor and coach somebody up, and you never see, at least I never did, on a football field or in a locker room, ethnicity or what they are. You're just trying to raise them up for who they are. And I just think that, to me, it comes back to my faith background and everything else, that everyone is created equal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing better than coaching young people. Nothing. And I've coached girls and boys.
Outstanding. Chicago's a very diverse city too. So if you come from a culture like that or an environment like that, and you kind of bring that with you. 3 levels of diversity. We call it 3 phases: tolerating, accommodating, or celebrating. Tolerating, accommodating, and celebrating. What level would you consider yourself to be at?
Well, it's funny that you say that. I mean, we have a familial. I mean, I could tell you that we had a party here last week with ice cream, and we were celebrating something else. There's a place here in Las Cruces called Calichi's. I never had it.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
And these kids they like coming here. And, you got to remember, Cedric, when someone writes a check to buy your stock, they're not going to look at it. They don't want to hear the flowery. They're supporting you, but they're putting their money to work as a tool to help them get a return. They come through here and they're saying, wow, we cannot believe that every single person we met, everyone is a believer. And, think about that during the pandemic. People were saying they didn't want to go to work. They didn't want, we never shut down. We were designated
essential business.
Essential.
Yeah.
And we were designated, and now we did work AB shifts, and we separated, and we did everything we could to make sure that we didn't have any problems. But I mean, we just, when you say we're celebrating, we have volleyball stuff with the guy, our employees. Just last week, the big brothers and big sisters asked for volunteers, and they could have asked 100 companies, but they got probably 26 from our company to go and help, and from all diverse backgrounds. And now they're going to do a volleyball thing. We're just going to have a good time together. So I would say we're celebrating.
Outstanding. Few remaining questions here, Joe. Career-wise, I mean, you got a phenomenal background, man, and have come of age, and now I'm president of ECG. working your magic, shining your light there. Career-wise, what's next for you?
For me, ECG is probably be the end of my career. I want to make sure that I help guide the company either into a publicly traded company, which is something we're always going to build it to go public, and then that would be a legacy. That's the beauty of having a public company. It goes on and lives forever. But in the worst, if we do get acquired, there's many different spinoffs that we can do here at this company. But I'll always be an advisor to ECG. But my number one goal is to get this company where we can we have incredible shareholders, and give them the reward of saying thank you for supporting us, and because it's their life work too, right? They're putting their money to work, and wouldn't it be great to be able to give them all a reward? That's something that I'm working hard for.
Outstanding. The legendary Joe Baffoe from ECG Incorporated. Joe, if any of our viewers would want to follow up with you, what's the best way to maybe reach out?
So it's my first letter of my name, J Baffoe, Baffoe at ECG-HQ.com. J Baffoe at ECG-HQ.com.
Excellent. Joe, thanks for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you all next time on the Southeastern New Mexico's Influence Magazine show.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves. Keep shining your light.
Thank you, Cedric. Appreciate it.